right, let me formally introduce him and bring him in. He is the trainer of Gennadiy Golovkin. And September 17th, it's coming up. DAZN pay-per-view, Las Vegas, the Trilogy for all 4 super middleweight world titles against Canelo Alvarez. It's Johnathon Banks, Kronk Jim in the house, a very good fighter in your own right in your cruiserweight days. Let's talk right here. Triple G at 168. We know the bad blood. We know all that. How different at 40 with Triple G moving up? He's been basically a career middleweight. How much of this is this a change for you guys heading into this third meeting?
It's not that big of a change. It's what, 8-pound difference? Is it? It's not that big of a change. So I don't see it being a significantly difference on the negative side or a positive side for Triple G. I mean, it's a weight class he agreed to. He's like, yeah, I can do it. So I'm okay, cool, let's go.
All right. Well, look, you have an interesting position being Golovkin's trainer now, but not the first 2. You watched it like we all did. When you look back on that, what are your recollections, your opinion of those first two fights, from the action to the scoring in general?
It's kind of weird because to really get into this trilogy, you know, you kind of have to delete the first 2 fights. You know, the reason I say that is because both fighters are different than the first 2 fights. You know, coming into the first fight, Canelo was known as the boxer. He was known as a mover, as a boxer. And after what, 4 years later, he's not moving. He's not moving anymore. He was a smaller guy coming in the first 2 fights. He's the heavier guy coming into the third fight. You know, so when you got that big of a difference in the styles and matchups, then everything is different. So it's not going to be Canelo trying to move around no more. It's going to be Canelo trying to get face to face and trying to cause as much pain as possible.
Well, you make good points on why that could be true. And I think when people do look at this third fight, 4 years removed from the second meeting, they are different in the ways you're mentioning, but they're so different. It seems emotionally in the dislike, I guess you could say, the hatred between them. I think a lot of people say, look, you add on a few years, this may be the best brawl of the 3. Would you tend to agree that you know, this may end up, the first 2 were action classics, let's be fair, but there seems to be some like real hot blood. Are you feeling that? Is that a media creation? Let's start there. Do you feel like Gennadiy Golovkin just really wants to deliver revenge in this one for how much he dislikes the guy across from him?
I think from what I'm feeling that this is just business as usual. That's what I'm feeling. You know, I think if he would have fought him right after that, if they would have fought in 3 years instead of 4, or they would have fought in a year after the second fight, then you may have seen bad blood. But all these years later, it's just business as usual. Nah, I mean, yeah, Canelo said it's personal for him, and that's him. But this is business for G. That's it. Trying to close the chapter. He's trying to go to chapter 3 and close it.
Well, would it be wrong to paint similar parallels to where Juan Manuel Marquez was emotionally heading into the 4th fight of the Pacquiao series, where he feels like each step of the way the judges kind of got it wrong and gave it to the money fighter? Gennadiy has had some of that to deal with, from the draw the first time around and then the very close decision loss the second. That's got to be part of the mindset, though, that I got to change. I got to say, I'm not only screw over Canelo, I got to take these judges out too that missed it. That led to an explosion. Marquez Pacquiao 4, a special, you know, fight in its own right. The feeling is there's going to be an explosion in this third fight, and these emotional reasons are going to play into it. But
if that was the case, then his people never should have got the 2 judges from the first fight. to be in the third fight if that was the case. But but to answer your question, nah, I don't. When I talk to him, I'm not looking at it like the best way for G to perform is emotionless.
Yeah.
Now, that may not work for every fighter. You know what I'm saying? But for this particular fighter, the best way for him to go at this fight is keeping the business and keeping his emotions at home. Because that's the best way, that's the best way to do it. You know what I'm saying? He if you want to pick up his emotions in the locker room, fine. But he don't need them in the ring. You know, because this is strictly business. This is what he do. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be a hell of a fight regardless of how the judges see it, how they score. It's gonna be a hell of a fight regardless. And as the fight go on, yes, we definitely want the victory. We definitely want to close the third chapter of this situation. You know, but the emotions plays no part in it.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect answer to, and I do agree with you. Knowing Gennadiy throughout his career, he's been able to be the smiley guy outside the ring and the gentleman, and then absolutely turn it on emotionless and take care of business. All right, look, I thought Gennadiy won both of the first two fights, but close, all-time classics. I think more people though tend to be in my side, although, you know, if you had Canelo win in the second, it was close enough. What is your task then as the trainer for the first time in this rivalry, knowing how great Canelo is, to change the judges? What are I mean, outside of corruption or whatever you can ascribe to, you know, the scorecard of 118, 110 for Canelo the first time around, which no one agrees with. What are you tasked with doing differently in how these two match up to make sure if it does go the distance that they get it right?
Well, my task is all about the strategy and about the busyness of my fighter, as far as the punch output. You know what I'm saying? I just believe that if G gets in there and truly box him and let his hands go, I think he'll have a lot of success. And the judges will see that. Even if it go the distance or not, the judge they'll see because it seems like to me, if you got a fighter going backwards, and so in other words, the other guy is going forward, whoever's going forward is assuming to be the busier fighter, and that's not necessarily the case. You know, so it's almost to the point where you want to know: are you looking at the punches, or are you looking at the mentality? Do you win fights on mentality, or do you win the fights by punching? Because I mean, there got to be a question. I mean, I don't. But again, I don't know how the judges looking at this. Are they?
I don't know either. It can depend. Everyone's got their own strike zone.
Are they on their phone reading text messages, or are they steady looking at the fight like, oh, okay? So I mean, just don't know.
I hope they don't have access to their text messages during that. I think we have rules against that. But would you believe
so? Who oversees that?
Hopefully a commission that's got their ish together, Johnathon Biggs, but you never know about that either.
Let me ask you a question. Does the commission sit there and look at them like this the whole time?
I don't know. I'd like to know. I'd like to know that answer. I think we can change a lot about the overall picture here. The narrative in the second fight, and again, you were watching it like I was that Canelo won that one because he was willing to lean on his chin and stand in there and try to turn the momentum in his favor and try to walk down Triple G. Do you believe that to be true, rewatching that second fight?
Again, I think the second fight, just because Canelo was coming forward and G was still throwing punches. Like, they gave him those rounds when he was coming forward, meaning Canelo, but he wasn't punching coming forward. He was walking the guy down. He was too busy blocking to throw punches coming forward. but they gave him those rounds because he was coming forward. I'm like, it's just it's a difficult task, man, because as a judge, if you're looking at a fight, if you're looking at a boxing match, like if you're looking at an MMA fight, I understand why you're looking at the feet. But if you're looking at a boxing match, I don't understand why you're looking at the feet. You should be paying attention to the hands, you know, because that's what's punching the guy. If I'm going backwards, you telling me like, well, he's making a fight, he's going backwards, but I'm punching the crap out of him going backwards. I'm like, so what? I'm still hitting him a lot more times. Like, what do it matter? Like, I'm landing the more effective punches. But I mean, who knows? Who knows what they're looking for or what they're looking at?
The whole narrative is going to be played up of at 40. Okay, maybe it's not the same exact Triple G, but how different is he? Well, look, he hasn't lost since the Canelo fight. And, you know, again, that loss is questionable to begin with. I know you're not going to say he's lost it. Look, it just just unified title. I mean, he's still doing monster things, but as you get older, it is natural. So how is he sort of finding ways to be more efficient to get around whatever speed has slowed down with age? Because what he's doing to still be in the spot at 40 is pretty remarkable.
I mean, it's all about training smarter and just being more efficient in the things you do well. It's not about, when you're young, the goal is to train hard. No matter what, train hard. No matter what you want to do, train hard. You know, when you get older, you got to train smarter, you know, because the body is a system that'll keep you going to a level where it allow you to, especially if you start training smarter. I mean, look at the nutritionists out here now. You got the perfect vitamins, the perfect nutritionists out here that keep the food and the right foods in you to keep the body healthy and keep the body upbeat to a certain point. You know, especially on an athlete that don't really take time off, who dedicate his life to staying pretty much in shape, staying fit. You know what I'm saying? So that 40-year-old guy is totally different than your average 40-year-old guy. You know, so not right now, we just fine-tuning and keeping him as sharp as possible and not overworking him, because you have guys that's young. It's hard to overwork a young guy, but an older guy, and when you older, you gotta give the fighter everything they need, and you can't give them what they want all the time. You gotta give them what they need, because what they need is XYZ. You can't have the rest of the letters. Like, you don't need those. You got to take what you need and move on, because you got to be as efficient as possible. You got to be a lot smarter at a later age. And that's the way to go about doing it. Same as the mentality of a George Foreman.
Yeah, that's
45 years old, winning the heavyweight championship of the world.
And he was still using the jab to set up the big right hand, which we know ends up being a big part of what makes Gennadiy traditionally successful.
And hold on, he started eating healthy. He the one came out with the grill to eat healthy. So him being able to eat healthy took him to 45 years old.
Fair point. When you look at what Dimitri Bivol was able to do at light heavyweight, albeit to defeat Canelo Alvarez, are there things you guys can take from that to help you win this trilogy?
Not at all.
You didn't learn a thing from that?
No.
All right. So that's an honest answer, Coach. That is it, right? Yeah, sure. Right.
I just like the look on your face. Your look on your face was priceless. You said you didn't learn a thing from that. The look on your face is priceless. But let me explain why I said that. I don't want to just give you a simple word. Let me explain why I said that. After seeing the two fights with G and Canelo, what Bivol did, G and Bivol are two completely different fighters, completely different, like night and day different. And what Bivol did I actually felt G did the first fight. That's my honest opinion. I said that's exactly how I think Bivol took something from G. So G don't have to take nothing from Bivol. That's how I look at it. I think Bivol looked at the first fight. He said, "Shit, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use my jab because every time I use my jab, Canelo head go back." The only difference is one got scored for it, and the other one didn't. Who's who? I'm not saying, but yeah, you get the point. You get the point. But, you know
I get it.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's why, I can say like I didn't get nothing from it is because he took what G did the first fight and just outboxed him. He just let his hands go and outworked him. It was a pretty simple task.
They're not the same fighter, but the strategy could end up being close enough, certainly. Let's close with this. It's September 17th. It's a Saturday night at Showtime. It's on the DAZN pay-per-view. It's going to be a show. The third Triple G Canelo fight. Can't wait for it. Trainer Johnathon Banks, your fighter, maybe a little bit slower, still got the big right hand, but even bigger. I mean, he's got like a cyborg chin. I mean, we can underplay it all we want. Gennadiy Golovkin can take a freaking punch. And I've asked him a million times, who's never been down as an amateur or pro over 400 fights. It's like, have you ever even been buzzed? He's like, nah, man. I'm like, wow. So I know you don't want him to use that superpower, but we know how great Canelo is. He may have to. Are you okay with that? If this guy's got to go out on his shields here to get a triumphant victory and walk through hell to get it done.
I use this motto all the time. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I guess I agree with you. It's gonna be a hell of a fight. My wish, my desire is for G to close the show in dramatic fashion, but believe me, Canelo could take a hell of a punch as well.
That is true.
He's no pushover from taking shots from from much bigger guys. You know what I'm saying? So he took right hands after right hands from G that 90% of people fell from and never recovered. And he took it, act like it was like a piece of meat, ate it and kept going. You know what I'm saying? So
this is going to be theater, Johnathon Banks, and you know it. You know it outside of the strategy and the care and love you have for the great Gennadiy Golovkin. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. I know you guys are going to be ready. I can't wait. Enjoy the ride as well, Coach Banks, because these guys are going to make history September 17th.
Yes, I agree 100%.